Joshua, the conquest of the Promised Land, a journey of faith and courage. After the death of Moses, a new leader arises, courageous, faithful, and determined. His name? Joshua. In this video, we will delve into the epic battles, the promises fulfilled, and the eternal lessons of the sixth book of the Bible. Like and subscribe if you love learning about the Bible in a clear and profound way. After years of slavery in Egypt, years of wandering the desert, and an entire generation that perished without entering the Promised Land, the history of Israel approaches a climax. The book of Joshua marks the transition from a people wandering without direction to a nation established in the land that God had promised to the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But for this to happen, more than a simple desire was necessary. Israel had to face challenges, battles, and, most importantly, the temptation to abandon faith in God's promises. Joshua, Moses' successor, is the man chosen by God to lead this people on the path of conquest. In this book, we see Joshua as a leader of courage and faith, who, alongside a people who were finally ready to fulfill their inheritance, faces giants, fortified cities, and implacable enemies. But the book of Joshua is much more than a story of battles and military victories. It is a story of obedience, trust in God and faith in His promises. Part 1. Entering the Promised Land, Joshua, chapters 1-5. The Call of Joshua. The book begins with the death of Moses, and God, in His infinite wisdom, chooses Joshua to succeed him as leader of the people of Israel. God makes a powerful promise to Joshua. Be strong and courageous, for you will lead this people into the land that you swore to their ancestors to give them. Joshua, chapter 1, verse 6. Joshua was a trustworthy man, and although he had been Moses' servant, he now needed to take on a leadership role. In a time of great responsibility and uncertainty, God reaffirms His promises, telling Joshua that He would be with him, just as He had been with Moses. This is a crucial moment, because rather than being about Joshua's ability or Israel's strength, victory would come through God's constant presence with them. God also instructs Joshua to keep the law alive in the hearts of the people. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. Joshua, chapter 1, verse 8. This is a reminder that for Israel to succeed, they should not rely on their own strength or strategy, but on the word of God, the mission of the spies, and the faith of Rahab. Before any battle, Joshua sends 2 spies to the city of Jericho, a fortress that seemed impossible to conquer. There, they meet a woman named Rahab, who protects them, hiding them from their enemies. Rahab knew that the God of Israel was powerful and was determined to give the land to Israel. She makes a pact with the spies. She promises to help them in exchange for the salvation of her family when Jericho is destroyed. Rahab's story is impressive. Despite being a woman from an enemy city, she demonstrates extraordinary faith, recognizing that God is sovereign and powerful. She places her trust in a God unknown to her, but whose fame is spread throughout the land. Rahab's faith does not go unnoticed. God, in His mercy, not only protects her, but includes her in the genealogy of Jesus Christ, showing that God's grace is available to everyone, regardless of their past. The crossing of the Jordan. Now the people of Israel are preparing to enter the Promised Land, but there is still one obstacle ahead, the Jordan River. However, as in the past, when Moses parted the Red Sea, God performs another miracle. When the priests of the Ark of the Covenant touch the waters of the Jordan, the river divides and the people cross on dry land. This crossing is not just a physical achievement, but a demonstration of God's power and the faithfulness of His promises. The Ark of the Covenant, which represented God's presence, leads the way. God, once again, reaffirms that He is with the people and that the Promised Land will be given to them. After they cross, Joshua orders 12 stones to be taken from the bottom of the Jordan and placed in Gilgal as a memorial. These stones will serve as a reminder of God's wonders for future generations, the circumcision and the Passover. At the camp in Gilgal, Joshua renews God's covenant with Israel. The new generation of Israelites, who had not been circumcised during their wilderness wanderings, undergo this rite again. Circumcision represents the severing of the old covenant and the entry into God's new promise. In addition, the Passover is celebrated for the first time in the Promised Land. The celebration of Passover is a vital reminder of the deliverance from Egypt and God's faithfulness to his people. Part 2, the conquest of the land, Joshua, chapters 6 to 12. The fall of Jericho. The first major city to be conquered is Jericho, a fortified city surrounded by massive walls. God's strategy for taking Jericho seems unusual. The people are to march around the city once a day for 6 days, in silence. On the 7th day, they march 7 times, blowing trumpets and shouting. Obedience is the key to victory, and when the people follow God's instructions, the walls of Jericho fall and the city is taken. Israel's victory over Jericho is a powerful reminder that God can defeat any enemy, no matter what the obstacle looks like. God gives victory, and the obedience of the people is essential for that to happen. After the destruction of Jericho, God commands that all the city's possessions be consecrated to him. But a man named Achan disobeys and takes some of the items dedicated to God for himself. This sin, though seemingly minor, leads to a significant defeat in Ai, a smaller city. Achan's sin and the victory at Ai. Achan's sin is an important lesson. Disobedience to God, even in seemingly minor ways, has serious consequences. Achan's sin leads to Israel's defeat at the city of Ai. However, after Achan is found guilty and punished, Israel is restored, and the city of Ai is conquered. The story of Ai shows how disobedience can hinder progress, but obedience brings blessings and victories. The covenant with the Gibeonites. Shortly after the victories at Jericho and Ai, the Gibeonites, who lived in the region, deceived Joshua. Pretending to be from a distant land, they asked for a covenant of peace. Joshua, without consulting God, makes a deal with them. When the lie is revealed, Joshua finds himself trapped in a commitment to a people who should have been defeated. This covenant is a reminder that hasty decisions without seeking God's guidance can lead to damaging alliances and complications down the road. However, even with Joshua's failure to consult God, he still keeps his promise and protects the Gibeonites, because the covenant was made on his word. The Battle of Gibeon and the miracle of the sun. The alliance with the Gibeonites leads to a great battle when 5 kings of the region join together to attack Gibeon. Joshua marches to the aid of his allies, and during the battle, God performs an amazing miracle. Joshua, in great faith, asks God for the sun to stand still so that he can defeat his enemies before it gets dark. God, in his sovereignty, answers Joshua's request by causing the sun to stand still for a period of approximately 24 hours. This is one of the most impressive miracles recorded in the Bible, and it is a testament to God's absolute power over the elements of nature and his commitment to those who follow him in faith. Did you like this explanation of the book of Joshua? If you are learning more about the Bible and want to continue this journey of discovery, be sure to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications. Every week, we bring new videos about the sacred books, with detailed explanations, curiosities, and lessons that can transform your understanding of the scriptures. Subscribe now and follow each step of this journey of faith. Continue with us in the study of the Word of God. Part 3, the division of the land, Joshua, chapters 13 to 21. After Israel's victories, Joshua and the tribes prepare to divide the promised land among the tribes. This division is a crucial moment, as it marks the fulfillment of God's promises. Although Israel has already conquered many cities, there is still some land left to be taken. God instructs Joshua to divide the remaining land among the tribes, fulfilling the promise made to the patriarchs. The conquest is not done all at once, but gradually, with God's guidance. Caleb, one of the faithful spies, receives the city of Hebron as an inheritance. Even though he is already an old man, he trusts God to conquer the land, demonstrating that faith has no age limit. Caleb is an example of perseverance and faith in God's promises. The tribe of Judah receives a large portion of land, including the city of Jerusalem. This is significant because Judah will later be the tribe from which King David and ultimately Jesus Christ will come. The tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh receive important lands, but they complain that their portion is insufficient. Joshua encourages them to conquer more land, showing that with faith it is possible to take possession of God's promises. The remaining tribes, Benjamin, Simeon, Zebulun, Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and Dan, receive their portions of land. The division is done by lot, but with the supervision of Joshua, who ensures that everyone receives their inheritance. God establishes 6 cities of refuge for those who commit accidental homicide. These cities offer protection until judgment is rendered, highlighting God's justice and mercy. The Levites, who do not receive land, are given 48 cities throughout Israel. This ensures that they can serve as priests and spiritual leaders throughout the territory, highlighting the importance of Israel's spiritual life. Part 4, Joshua's Farewell Joshua, chapters 22 to 24. After the division of the land among the tribes of Israel, the focus turns to the renewal of the covenant with God and the legacy left by Joshua. This part is a conclusion to Israel's journey in the Promised Land and a reminder of the responsibilities they have as God's chosen people. After receiving their land, the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh, who had settled east of the Jordan, returned to their lands. Before leaving, Joshua warns them about the importance of remaining faithful to God, reminding them of the victories God has given them. When the eastern tribes build an altar, the other tribes of Israel think it is a sign of apostasy, falling away from faith. But it is later clarified that the altar was built as a symbol of unity, to remind everyone that they serve the same God, and not as a rival altar. This episode highlights the importance of unity and not jumping to conclusions about others, showing that although differences may arise, faith in God should be what unites the people of Israel. In his old age, Joshua gathers the leaders of Israel and gives them an important speech, advising them to remain faithful to God. He reminds the people that their covenant with God is what brought them here, and that if they turn away from God and join with the pagan peoples, they will suffer the consequences. If you turn away altogether and join with the survivors of these nations, you know that the Lord your God will no longer drive out these nations before you. Joshua, chapter 23, verses 12 and 13. Joshua also assures them that if they are faithful, God will continue to help them and defeat their enemies. He emphasizes that God always keeps his promises, but that obedience is essential for Israel's well-being. In chapter 24, Joshua gathers all the people of Israel at Shechem and gives them one last reminder of the story of how God freed them from slavery in Egypt and led them to the Promised Land. He challenges the people to choose whom they will serve, declaring, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Joshua chapter 24, verse 15. The people respond by affirming that they too will serve the Lord, and thus a renewal of the covenant is made. Joshua writes the words in the book of God's law and sets up a stone as a memorial of the renewed covenant. He makes it clear that this choice must be made consciously and firmly, for God's blessings and curses depend on the people's faithfulness. Now fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods your fathers served. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua chapter 24, verses 14 and 15. After this renewal, Joshua dies and is buried in his hometown of Timnath-Serah, leaving a legacy of faithfulness and obedience to God. He is also remembered as a leader who guided Israel according to God's will. The book of Joshua is a story of faith, obedience, and perseverance. It teaches us that when we trust God and follow his instructions, he will lead us to victory, even in the face of the greatest challenges. Obedience to God is crucial, and God's faithfulness to his promises is unquestionable. The story of Joshua also teaches us about the value of leadership. Joshua was not only a military leader, but a spiritual leader who trusted God's instructions and communicated them to the people. He gives us an example of courage, faith, and commitment to the Lord, and his life serves as a model of leadership that we should follow in our walk with God. In addition, the book of Joshua reveals God's power over nature, enemies, and history. The Lord is sovereign, and nothing is impossible for him when we are aligned with his will. Joshua reminds us that our victory depends on God's presence in our lives. Did you like the video? Comment here. Which part of the book of Joshua spoke to you the most? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Keep watching the other videos and understand more about the Holy Bible. Stay with God and see you in the next video.